Hello, everybody. Welcome to Core Office Hours número 45. It's 45. We've done 45 of these. And today we're talking about core and AI. It's a case study. We're going to be talking about an AI startup that we got to do recently at the beginning of this year. Wanted to welcome everybody. Everyone is welcome. Daniel Brewster, always good to see you. Jaja, thank you for coming. John, thank you for being here. Rafael Sandoval, Rafael, and John Sencion. Thank you, John, for joining. Super awesome to have you. It's good to see you. Amazing entrepreneur. TJ Maxx. Oh, TJ Maxwell. I like TJ Maxx because it sounds like I like shopping at TJ Maxx. It's pretty good. I mean, it's like one of my favorite places. Tatiana Luthi, who is an amazing designer, a friend from Art Center, and we did a lot of work together, literally together, at the beginning of the school many years ago. We produced some good stuff. Tito, thank you. And as always, thank you to Todd Mendeloff, who produces this show and all our content and is amazing. So welcome, bienvenidos. Gracias por venir. Our community is pretty global, as we see usually when we say hello, from San Francisco to Portugal to Romania, India, Philippines, Argentina, Costa Rica, Panama City, everywhere. Los Angeles, outside of Los Angeles. It's nice to see everyone always from all around the world. And our mission to empower creative people, you, me, leaders, creative leaders to transform global businesses through design and design a better future together. Canada, sorry, TJ. Canada, I forgot Canada. What? We don't have Canada? Oh my God, no Canada. We got to fix that. That is so rude to Canadians. There's so many Canadians from everywhere. Vancouver, like I've seen a lot of signups. All right. I am so sorry about that. Canada will be added. So here we go. Here's our agenda today, and I'm going to review it so that we can all know what's going to happen. The topic today, what it is we're going to look at how Core was used to do an AI startup and the nuances around that. It's not a day to talk about, our point of view on AI, the state of AI or design. If we want to do that, please let us know. We're going to have an additional core office hours to just talk about AI, or even maybe a separate thing. We did that a month ago, and it's already on YouTube, where we did talk about AI at a more extensive level, but that would be a fun conversation to have. Today, really, it's about brand and UX and how we used Core to manage this process of defining a new brand, because there's tons of new AI brands, and this is something that you might end up having to do in the creation of in your work. So we're going to go through the case study. I'm going to show the exercises, talk about how I did them and how it worked with this client. We're going to look at the brief, and which everyone's always interested in. And I did a pretty extensive job here, like putting together ideas, thoughts, and direction to guide the project. And then we're going to look at stylescapes, how that was presented, and what the resulting style guide looked like for the startup. And then we're going to have QA. It's going to be a very full day, or a full session today. And let me make sure I'm not missing anything. You can ask questions at any time, either in the chat, as we said, and Todd will track. If you're in the audience, let us know if you want to be on stage. You can ask questions in the QA, in the question button, if you're in the audience. And we want to have more people in the audience. So one thing I want to urge you next week or next core office hours is to invite friends and help us promote it and help us bring people. We're getting our content tighter, and this is part of it, to invite more people. If you're new and you have questions about Core, the class, the course, the process, the framework, hang around till the end, because we'll answer those questions. Any questions you might have if you're new to Core. Here we go. Let's do the drop-in. First 5 people to raise your hands, if you know how to raise your hands, can do the drop-in, your name, your location, what you do, and one brand that inspires you and why, and I will model that for us. My name is Jose Caballer. I am in Panama City, Panama. I am a designer, creative director, creative entrepreneur, brand alchemist, and all-around madman. And what do I do? In addition to doing brand strategy, design, and creative direction for AI startups, I teach. This is my role in the last 10 years. teaching the community and bringing core to the world. That's my 3 things. And the one brand that inspires me happens to be a brand here in Panama City called Psychotropic. You know Pape, who's a member of our community, and he used core to create this brand. I'm not going to open up my t-shirts because I actually want to do a unboxing for Instagram a little bit later. But the reason why it inspires me is because, yeah, we can keep it to 30 seconds. Psychotropic, it's an amazing t-shirt brand and lifestyle brand. Why? Not just because it was created with core, but it's really a lifestyle. It's like literally, it is his life in symbols, meaning a t-shirt with like what he believes in. And it was really inspired by core because the core kit has this case study of how to create a transformational brand. That was the whole like point in the core case study. Pape understood that and said, oh, I'm going to create a transformational brand. And he got the message that I put into the kit itself. That's why it's really inspirational. So it happens to be a core created brand, but I'm going to shut up. And anybody raise their hands or no? Whoever, popcorn, the first 5 people, choose yourself, start. John, you are on mute, and make sure you unmute yourself. And when you're done, choose somebody. 30 seconds.
I'm John Cencion. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm an entrepreneur, brand creator. One brand that inspires me is cliche. It's Tesla, and it's really the massive mission scope of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. The fact that people think it's cars, but it's really AI and lots of other things. So I'm blown away, actually. Plus, all my investments are in there. So
pick somebody. Thank you so much, John. Welcome.
The next person, Tatiana, is that how you pronounce it?
I'm gonna pass.
TJ, how about TJ in Canada?
Hey, so I'm TJ. I'm in Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I am a brand strategist and web designer exclusively on Webflow. And one brand that inspires me and why, oh gosh, Apple, like, I don't know. They've been making my life easier when it comes to design and doing everything. And it's just, I really like the ethos of Apple, where you're in a gated, expensive garden. And yeah, honestly, I'm sorry. This is like on
you like the exclusivity basically that Apple sets up in their
basically
ecosystem.
Because like life is complicated, so I don't need my digital life to be complicated. I just want to get my work done and do what I need to do in order for me to create better. So that's why I like to stick to Apple products. I'm sounding like such a fanboy right now, but yeah.
No, it's okay. So Apple is perfect. And let's go with Jaja in London afterwards. Or outside of London.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
So wonderful to meet you guys. I'm Jaja. I'm just gonna say London, because if I say that specific spot, it might confuse people. But I live near Thames River. So that's where I'm at. What do I do? I'm a brand marketeer. So I help purposeful charity. Most of my clients, they're charity. I help people who do good, do better through visual communication and storytelling and branding.
Beautiful.
So what one brand inspires me right now, I gotta say, is Lego. I think that is something, if you say Lego, who doesn't know Lego? Who doesn't know what the creativity and imagination brought to child? So it's Lego brand for me. So that's me. Thank you. So I'm gonna pick John Otero, if I pronounce your name right.
John Otero.
Yeah, thank you. That's okay. A lot of people have trouble with my last name, but it's okay. Thank you. My name is John Otero. I am a creative director for a digital marketing agency that specializes in web design, SEO, and brand strategy. I specialize in helping small businesses define their brand, creating an identity that represents them to the fullest, and then maximizing their opportunities with search engine optimization and web design so they could generate more leads, build more revenue, and grow their business. One brand that inspires me, some people may know it, some people may not, is Liquid Death. They are, I believe it's canned water that looks like a tall boy. What I really like about them is, their messaging, their consistency, and they're really targeted to a tribe that kind of appeals to, in my opinion, metalheads, me being one of them. So definitely like how they do their social media, their van art, everything. So all about them, everything is consistent. The messaging is great. And I always love seeing what they do on social media. I'm going to select Todd.
Where are you based on?
Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Nice. Murder Your Thirst. Yeah, no, it's awesome brand. I'm Todd Mendeloff. I am in Los Angeles, California. I am a entrepreneur, a filmmaker, creator, and a product guy. And one brand that inspires me that I think is going away, maybe, is HBO. Creatively, I guess it's part of Max now, maybe, but HBO has inspired me from a storytelling perspective for a long time.
And it's going away.
It's definitely not. It's not the HBO app anymore. It's the Max app. I don't know if the HBO brand.
They're done. It's over. Yeah,
it's done now. There you go. My inspirational brand is said goodbye. Jersey.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Jersey Carranza. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a director and producer, mostly for films. I'm a South by Southwest accepted director. And I think a brand that I just recently heard of that inspired me is one by Joanna Gaines. I didn't know about this brand. She owns like a restaurant out in Magnolia in Waco, Texas. She has like a TLC, like Fixer Upper type of show. And like every single customer I saw walk into her restaurant, and she also has like a shop for like home goods and interior designs. There's like such a homogeneous selection of people. So I was like, wow, this is kind of a cult. I was like, this brand is built so well. Like they're selling this image of what your house can look like, what your life should look like, your lifestyle, your healthy choices. It was just such an interesting brand. I was like, wow, they've done so well at creating this curated selection of food, interior design, shows to watch. I was blown away. It's by Joanna Gaines.
What's it called again?
The CEO is Joanna Gaines.
I know, but what's the business?
The business is called Magnolia.
Got it. Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jersey. It's good to see you. Awesome. That's thank you, everybody, for dropping in. If you have more, anyone else, you can drop them. Please drop them into the chat. We are going to go into the core and AI case study, which is the usable machines case study. And I'm going to start by going into the exercises. I'm going to reshare my screen, and I'm going to share a bit wider what that looked like. I set it up here for you. So I basically set up my projects in a Google Slides format from the beginning. This particular Google Slides has everything, including the scope of work in it. And then I recapitulated the entire scope visually for the client. So from the deliverables to the objective of the project, I have that in here. And the reason why I do that is because when I'm producing a project myself, tracking everything is sometimes difficult. So I want to keep it very linear. And I started just doing it this way. In addition to using Mural and Miro, and depending on what the client's using, FigJam recently, which I really like. But in terms of doing the sessions, after the session alignment exercise, which is right at the beginning of core, where you align the stakeholders, you set up the rules, participate, you can say anything, and you can have fun. Then I go into the exercises. But what is UM? And it's in the objective, so I'll just read it. Usable Machine provides enterprise workers easy to use AI tools with the world's simplest user experience. We do this by leveraging the best third-party open source AI models and providing users with a more efficient and human and valuable interface layer. Our goal is to be the AI provider for IT security, compliance, procurement, and finance teams. So in short, Usable Machines play is for the enterprise, because AI has such complexity when it comes to things like security, things like your data, that if they can solve that problem, they know they can really bring AI to the enterprise. The nuance there is that you have seen companies banning AI used by their employees because of security concerns. So they wanted to nip that in the bud. So that's who Usable Machines is. Todd, does that help contextually? And then in terms of context, yeah, the startup, the executives, and how I know Usable Machines is through my relationship with Riot Games. The founder, the CEO, Ron, comes from Riot. He was the chief information officer. Tony, the other founder, was someone who trained Riot in Agile. So they are funded by Riot Ventures, which is a spin-off of Riot, or Riot executives doing venture capital. And that's how we got involved. I got a call in the end of December, about the need for an identity and the product look and feel quickly. Like they had meetings in 2 weeks. And John, you can put the questions in the chat if you have one, or if that's an old hand raise. So moving now to the exercises. So we got together in a work session, got everybody on like January 2nd, the first day coming back from the holiday, to do the brand attributes. I explain the exercise in the slide. I give an example of what that looks like for another client. And then in this case, I think I'm using literally the example that comes with the core kit. And then I show them the brand statement, what we're going to do at the end, and then we jump into it. I explained first like what each column is with some examples before we say, hey, let's do it. And then this is the actual one that we did with them. So their culture is friendly. Their customers are everyday worker. Their voice is non-judging, because AI is so complex. You didn't want this to feel like, oh, hey, this is really techie. Feeling smarter. And the impact is you look good. You look good at your job. Like I'm translating stuff to Spanish here in Latin America and making proposals in Spanish. I'm using AI, and the Spanish translation is right spot on. I look good and I look smart. And I haven't written Spanish since the 8th grade. And then the X factor is magically, which is interesting when Jaja shares a little bit on her design directions that she did. And Jaja, if you want to share too, the third, some up from your own screen, if you want to like talk about it, you're welcome to, letting you know, because I'll share how I presented it. And if you want to expand, you're welcome to. Then put into the brand statement. Again, the brand statement, I always clarify that this is not a mission or a vision or outwardly focused. My job wasn't to basically write that, even though their marketing person took it on to write it. My job was to just provide this so that it could guide the team, because sometimes they come out somewhat grammatically not necessarily too correct. So Usable Machine provides easy to use AI tools to everyday enterprise workers in a friendly way with a non-judgmental and human voice, helping them feel smarter and look good. And as we move towards profiles and as we move to the other components, especially as we moved into design, I use this statement and the key attributes, and you'll see those in the brief, to guide the process and guide the conversation. One exercise that we did here before this particularly was basically talk out loud, hey, who are the users? You know, before we actually put them into categories, because sometimes you don't want to just boom go into, you can't just go into this particular thing right here without having this broader conversation of all the possible users and then picking them to 3. So I always do that. I might do that in Mural. I might just do that talking and take notes and say, you know, I'm taking notes in the Apple Notes thingy outside of what I'm sharing, where the client can't see my actual notes. So I do that often enough to ensure that I don't forget something or that I'm like, you know, on track. So after doing these 3, we then went into, you know, the demographics, the story, the needs, solutions, and something that really drove, we didn't complete these, but something that really drove the entire design process was the singular focus on the everyday enterprise worker. So even though we did not complete these and how they interacted, later on, we actually did complete them, and the marketing team picked them up and started completing more, you know, 4 or 5 profiles. But we always went back to 2 profiles, the everyday worker and the IT person. That became the focus. So next, after we were done with our session, because we ran out of time, and it's very frequent, busy executives, everyone was remote in different places and time zones, ran out of time. So I say, okay, next I'm going to create the brief, then we're going to do stylescapes, we're going to do 3, and then we're going to choose 1. So I explained that, and I gave them homework, and I said, hey, this is an exercise. You know, I emailed it to them, 3 brands that you love, like today's drop-in, basically. And they had to, you know, give us the link and the why. And what they hated about them. The reason for having this is because if you don't know the style, like aesthetic or like, you know, preferences of a particular client, you know, you're blind. You know, if they say, I love this brand, and they say, I hate this brand, great. One nuance here, which I don't know if it's in the brief or not, is that they actually ended up asking the venture capital firm, their contact there, for their opinion in this process. And at the stylescape level, once we presented them, we heard back a very clear, and they did the same exercise. They said, here are the brands that you should emulate and the brands that you shouldn't. And that really helped in addition to what we did. So it wasn't like there was a singular, so the reflection at the end is like, hey, you know, what did you get out of the session? What one word, you know, I feel complete, check mark, you know, got it done. Anticipation, what's going to happen, and reinvigoration. So then from this went into the brief. And the way that I approached the brief was narrative, right? Here are the attributes. This is the roots, you know, friendly, everyday, looking good, non-judging, smarter. So friendly and everyday and looking good was really a big guidance. The brief objective, the brand statement, user needs, industry quick scan, which is let's look at the competitors, basically directions and overview. Direction 1, references. Direction 2, references. Direction 3, references, and next steps. This is how I do it for startups specifically, because I know it's very focused on the identity and on the interface. I really just very incisely go into what it is. If this was for packaging or for a brand for a restaurant or for something else, it would be a little bit different in terms of what the reference is and what the focus is in the brief. And here we go. So this brief outlines the key information needed to begin the design process. It serves as a guide for designers and ensures that all stakeholders have visibility and can provide input for the design directions. Then I go into the brand statement, I dropped in images for this. Barbara really shifted over time, and you'll see what Barbara ended up looking like, because there was a huge discussion internally about the age between marketing, the CEO, the advisors, and the VCs. Everybody had a different opinion about the user in general. So design quick scan, this is me giving a point of view. So I'm a curator. I'm curating for the startup for these people, like what they're actually doing. So doing a quick scan of the top AI startups, consumer startups, and established products, so we can see the clear trends. So as a designer, I am looking at what's going on in the landscape. AI, okay, everybody's doing purple and magenta, which I'm assuming they're copying the system because that's what we use, purple and magenta. It just happens to be really trendy, and you know, we're inside the trend. Consumer gradients were still being used. How did I find these? I actually spent, you know, maybe 2 hours just doing research, 3 hours, and I Googled some stuff. I asked AI. I do it pretty broadly. If I were in a location where I had easy access to like Inc. magazine or any other physical magazines, I try to scan those. Those are usually a little bit behind. But there's really great resources, you know, like blogs for design that always will have some of these trends available. And if you Google top 10, you know, consumer startups of 2023, and you look at 2 or 3 of those, you'll try to see what the things are that they're covering. And everyone's going to have a point of view and cover it from a different point of view. Sometimes you see a theme, and the themes that emerged in this case were purple and magenta. Colorful illustrations, you know, the redesign of mural was a big interesting kind of thing to look at. So AI, consumer, and established startups, there's a difference, right? When you launch a startup towards when you're established. Mural launched with one identity and then it rebranded completely. That happens all the time. So first round of funding, one identity. Second round of funding, it evolves. Third round of funding, it evolves, and sometimes they rebrand it completely. In some cases, it's just improvements, like Slack has had a very consistent identity over a few cycles of funding and scaling. So looking at the AI, you know, space, AI is very crowded. How do you stand out? Smart design is not arbitrary. It has roots. And then I go back into core. Remember, I'm not selling core. I'm just trying to guide people down a path. And this exercise of like putting it into 3 is simply to even make it smaller. So human, smarter, look good, friendly, confident, faster. I can read it. I can do hip hop. Hey, usable machines, it's human, smarter, and it helps you look good. And we're friendly, we're confident, and we are faster for you being able to do your work. So how do you translate attributes? You know, color, I showed the psychology of color. I'm working with developers. So I'm trying to explain to them that I'm not making arbitrary decisions, that even fonts have, you know, a psychology of the font choices. Very quickly, I didn't necessarily spend a lot of time on that. Then we go into the stylescape presentation. I have an agenda, the session objectives, 2 minutes, etc. How the process works. Oh, well, this is actually the brief, and I'm just going to wrap up the brief. I come up with concepts, so powerful friend, and then what attributes. I had some references and colors for them. These are from their I love. One person said they love the Starbucks brand, and then I put a contrast between what all the stuff that's happening out there and what we could do with this direction, right, to stand out. And this is the stylescape for that direction. Now, in the brief, the stylescape wasn't there. This got added later. But I will go back and then I'll let Jaja talk a little bit about, because she was very instrumental in this. The second direction is smart magic and human expansion. We mixed the 3 directions up a little bit because Jaja decided to go in a specific direction. So I said, all right, let's go, let's flow, all in flow. If Jaja wanted to make a direction that was combining certain things, I let her, and she did an amazing job. And there was some really fun arguments behind the scene between the directions, because there were people that were really like on Jaja's direction, etc. Then the third direction, I always throw stuff. I throw shit like sideways here. Like I try to make the third direction something that will break the conversation a little bit, and I call it spicy, right? So direction 1 is mild, direction 2 is medium, direction 3 is like whoa. So I even changed the name for the startup, and my naming process, which keep in mind, this is something that you can charge a client a lot of money for, you know, up to where people pay $200,000-$300,000 or more for naming, maybe 30 to 50 for a startup, a funded startup. Here in Latin America, it might be, you know, 5 to 15 for a company to do naming. But naming is actually cada día, which is, you know, my bias for Spanish, everyday AI. So my name was Cada, which is cool, CIDA, and it was available. All right, so I'm gonna jump from here because we're out of time to the Fig Jam. So the reason why I put this into Fig Jam was for 2 reasons. The entire core process is about getting input from your client at all times. If you've been in yoga circles, and if you've done therapy, or if you've been in a mastermind, you just open it up. You know, we use the circle dynamics in these core office hours, and basically we put the name of the client, of the stakeholders. They were here. I took them out, but then this is what works, which comes from Agile. What's working for me? What can be improved? You know, from this particular identity. Logo direction by Jaja Smith and Jose Caballer. We're like the Beatles. We're like a band, because I took what she did and I played with it. And this particular logo really influenced the final logo a lot. That kind of like whoop whoop whoop. But notice that the client said, well, they didn't like the green, the Kia logo problem. The client had said, or I had said from the brief, and a comment that the client made in the brief, that we needed to come out like one of the most successful, you know, current platforms, startups, no longer a startup, but which is Slack, and we were emulating Slack a little bit, right? You can see that clearly that there's some emulation of Slack, just to give them an idea and a taste, but then you can really see what they like and what they don't like. Alignment and consensus, you know, it's a good question. Thank you, Rafael. You know, I make the final decisions at the end, and I actually consult the CEO, who's my primary kind of stakeholder, sideline and privately. What I want to make sure is that everybody feels heard, and that at the end, I need to take the risk to move things forward. So I'll give you a specific role that I played in this project. Very briefly, I move it forward based on their input, and they have something. The main reason why they have a hard time moving forward on their own is because they're moving at 100 miles an hour with all these different decisions that are being made. And it's very, you know, difficult to say, here's our direction. Somebody has to take that risk. And by the way, the risk could backfire, and they're like, well, we don't like it. The feedback from the client on this is that they feel like this part of the process, the core process, was the best part of the entire project, that they were so happy that we got something done and forward, and that we had an identity, because they needed it to raise capital. They were in the middle of like a tunnel of like, we have 2 weeks to present to our, you know, venture capital stakeholders, and we don't have an identity. We don't feel like there's a there. We need a there. Which, by the way, is what Core does, and what I do, what we do, who do startups, is we give clients a there, and then they have the momentum to keep on going, because as you know, startups move very fast and are very messy. This is direction done by Jaja Smith. Jaja, give your input, and if you want to switch and show your computer, tell us a little bit about your approach. You presented 2, I chose 1, and here it's where there was a polemic between the marketing team. The marketing team loved this direction most and wanted us to go in the purple, this direction.
Shall I start?
Go for it. Let me stop my sharing.
No, it's good. Okay.
Oh, keep it. I'll keep it.
Keep it. Stay there.
Yeah,
I'll go from that one first. Just give people a little bit of tease onto the one why the other one didn't get chosen. So okay. Story behind this is that is based on I mean, no matter what we do, we design for our customers, right? So the process of this is, at the beginning, I had a great chat with Jose. I remember we did about an hour just jamming, talking about things, you know, the story behind stakeholders, what they like, what they don't like, what is the customers are like. So we went through, well, I went away and did this 3 stage. The first thing is researching. I think Jose, you already covered that. And I did a little bit researching as well, in the way where I just looking at what's going on out there, what's the trend, what's the best look and feel of the brand that close to the consumer. So once we've done that, I kind of like connect the dot a little bit, just distill all the best bits, and then I started to think actually how things work to our customer expectation. So I think that am I right to think the HR lady that I was doing, Jose?
Yeah. She works in HR. She wasn't she was an executive in HR, but wasn't the highest position yet.
Correct. So the thinking behind it is towards more female-driven user. Hence, you can see from that stylescape, you know, the silhouettes is women's silhouettes, the women's carrying a bag as well. So the thinking towards the whole identity was focusing on small and large scale. So that's how do we implement the design? So if I go from
left to right.
Yeah, if I go from left to right, then so start from identity. So usable machine, this we use geometric shapes to create a very simple letter U. Now the thinking behind is that icon is that we could very cleverly utilize this to put image behind the icon, or even inside of the icon. So simplicity is the key here. And
they really love the icon, and the fact that it has a logo mark and logo type in it, it's really powerful. One real quick comment, what I liked about, and we ended up taking your approach to how you do stylescapes, it was how clean they were and how simple. It was like logo, font, color, a use, and then like a poster, and then an interface. And it immediately gives a sense of what the possibility is to this client without getting too complicated. So I think this one, again, we used your format and we just said, okay, let's do it how Jaja does it. And like one use, we added probably a way too complex use in the posters, but hey. Anyway, go ahead and wrap up, Jaja. Your final words as a designer. How was this experience of doing stylescapes with Core and the brief and with me, and sum up the experience for somebody who's new to Core?
Just one word: smooth. That's it. It's just like the idea you just come out is just unstoppable, and you know why you come up with certain ideas, because you have a goal. You've done strategy bit already, so you feel more confident as well while you're doing this. Hence why I got very confident, like we were doing like 2 kinds of style. So shall I quickly show the other style? It didn't get chosen.
Just for fun, just so that people see the behind the scenes. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I'll quickly show you.
And in the comments, what do you guys think so far of the process? I heard, with this level of clarity through Core, it really empowers the whole direction as a whole. That's from Rafael. Love the color psychology slide for communicating with the designers.
I'll show it later because I can't really share it right now.
Okay.
Disable.
Oh, shoot. Oh, hold on. Let me enable it. Give me 1 second. You know what? The only way in
Jose, do you have it?
Her direction, I might, yes. Or the direction, well, that was her direction. Let me do this. Let's finish showing just for the sake of continuity.
Sure.
I'm gonna make you a co-host. Actually, let's just do it right now. I'm gonna make you a co-host, and now that allows you to share. So go ahead. You're ready to share.
I have the power. It's scary.
You have the power. Welcome to the smooth is the word. Yeah, the effort in what we're doing today is to have this conversation. There you go. All right, there it is. That's the other direction that Jaja did, which is super interesting.
Can you see? I think
Yep.
What we loved about this is the word with the communication icons. I think we somehow inspired by that. However, this kind of Viva magenta sort of color, it feels feminine, but it is a bit of hard to use because red and black can somehow indicate danger and evil, that kind of thing.
Actually, but believe it or not, red and black was not a bad thing from the VC standpoint, because security firms use red and black, and I actually will show you guys in the style guide if I have I don't have a, oh yeah, I do have it in the style guide. I made some very nuanced comments on what the comments were from the venture capital, and I'll show it to you that validate that usage of what you did here. The reason why I took it out was for a couple of reasons. One, I felt that the other direction showed the elements already, and that was kind of enough to show the direction for this logo mark if it was going to be a choice. And the other, I actually really love this color combination as a whole. I recently saw a presentation that had a similar palette for consultancy, and I love that. That happens to be the color palette that I used for my consultancy. It was red and that tan. So I love it. I love the direction a lot, actually. But I just felt it was one too many to present, and I just chose to present the contrast between the three that we presented.
Yeah, I think the idea was, I think he was really sold with the idea of the light art, how it kind of drives the functionality of the product, which is you're searching for something in the dark, and also you found something beautiful. So light art speaks for that kind of consumer.
Yeah. And at the end, what's interesting, your direction spawned this huge conversation between the marketing team and me as a design team, and my job was really to facilitate getting them to move forward. So at the end, meaning what happened, what did the design turn out like? This is what we delivered in terms of a style guide, and I'll just drop it through here really quick. Again, I'm working in Google Slides, which is it just allows for editability and a lot of different reasons. It might not be the ideal way that people work, meaning some people want to do it in InDesign or in Keynote, etc. But I love using Google Slides. One interesting thing, I want to make this a note for core practitioners. We did not do the prioritize objectives exercise or the business goals. And that was a big mistake, in general. That was the one thing that if we would have done, would have saved us a lot of headaches in the whole process. So just wanted to let you guys know that.
Can I ask why?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
There we go. It's smart people in the room. Why didn't we do it, or why did it throw things off?
Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
We didn't do it because we ran out of time, and then I got caught up like a designer into presenting the stylescapes and getting the design right. And when we started having a little bit of friction in terms of what's next, what should we focus on, instead of introducing that exercise, I tried using user stories to prioritize it. And the challenge there was that doing user stories with a group of people doesn't prioritize what the functionality needs to be. It makes it more like confusing. So the approach I took was, okay, it's not going to work to facilitate the group to get alignment on what we should focus on functionality and features wise. I'm just going to talk directly to the CEO, but then everybody else was doing that. So it's a very sophisticated practice and alignment issue. If I could go back in time, I would have scheduled a session that next day after we did the first session and said, we can't move forward in design without that exercise. That would have been the way to do it. So that would be the correct way of doing it. Hindsight being 2020. So real quick, the style guide has all the directions in it and the history. It goes through some of the categories like brand foundations, user profiles. It's an important one. At the end, I only put this one into the style guide just for the sake of it. Barbara got a lot younger, but her needs got very fine-tuned by both advisors and by the marketing team. The logo mark. So here's where the logo mark ended up being, and it was an inspiration from Jaja's that was like squiggly. The comment and the feedback was that it was a little too much like the Kia logo, which you don't know what the heck it says, though the Kia logo is now emblematic because now you know it's Kia. But when I saw it the first time, I'm like, ooh, what? I said, what luxury brand is that? That is new on the market when I saw the first time a Kia with that logo on it. And so we ended up separating it. But then here's the power of like AI. So I put into ChatGPT, to describe a machine, usable machine, the name of the company. And it basically gave me the categories of machines. And there's 6 categories of machines and blah, blah, blah. It said this whole thing explanation. So then I went to Google and I looked for simple machines and it gave me this. One of the categories is pulleys. So if you see a pulley, it has, a circle and a rope going through it. And I'm like, hey, so the circles at the end and at the bottom of the UM are basically the input and the output. And then the process that it goes through is the U and the M, right? Like that. It's magic also too. You wave your wand, right? And this explanation I'm giving you right here is exactly how I pitched it to the team. And they're like, ooh, we like that. We like that we can, because they're going to have to tell that story. And that was it. Is the logo the best logo in the world? Is it like, my God, that is like brilliant. I have no idea. I just know that it also had to incorporate the usable machines, the really small. So uppercase, smaller next to it was the way that I did it. Because otherwise, like usable machines is a super long thing to put on a thing. And notice here that for the style guide, I separated it. I put UM on the right so that it's like really bold right here. Right. And that orange Jaja at the end is the legacy of the red. And it's called UM red. And it's really it's orange on the edge of red, basically. And then for the product and the UI, there was this big inspiration from that by the way, it's across a lot of the UI platform. A lot of the AI platforms are basically providing like a macro, like it's hey, this is a prepackaged set of prompts that will have certain output, like create 16 different meta descriptions, right? And the metaphor that the CEO used is that every single one machine is like a Keurig, case. You can get like roasted dark or you can get light. You put it in the machine and you get coffee, right? Same thing. Usable machine allows you to create, or you grab ones that have been created for you, a set of pre-populated prompts that will do something like transcribe this call, for this Zoom that we just did, to text, translate it to Spanish, and divide it into the themes of the agenda. And it will do it. It's like, you're like, wow, it's pretty awesome. So we could report anyway, and then systematically, and this is the Cult Cat team did the UI work with me. And then we also had another UX person working with us, Rio, who is the systems UX intern, or not intern, apprentice. We didn't use intern, apprentice. She worked with me a lot on this, and it's being used. The ideas are all being used in the current product. I go back periodically and I check the product. Anyway, font. But going back to the overview from brand attributes, user profiles, I put the nuanced feedback. So I actually put the text from the venture capital firm into the stylescape to explain. Here's why, guys and ladies and gentlemen, you know, beautiful people is better than guys. All people, beautiful people. This is the feedback that we got from the VCs, which is use the red and black of like a security, because IT security was kind of like the thing. And then they liked Okta and of course Zapier, which is a big automation platform, and now it's integrating AI. So at the end, of course, there's all the experience design, sitemap, etc., wireframes for it. You know, it's a complex process as a whole. But what I tried to do here, and the reason why, is because when you leave, and I'm still an advisor to usable machines, when you leave, you're going to hand this off to other agencies and to other people who are going to look at this, and they're going to pick it up, and they're going to say, okay, what do we do? How do we keep this consistent? So I'll give you an example. If you go to the site right now, and this is me wrapping up. Oops, no, usable machines. I can't type in a freaking URL. How about that? We'll do QA. You notice that the font changed a little bit since we left, which is totally fine. And they definitely changed the focus a little bit. But, you know, it takes a lot to design the sausage. And I think we did a pretty good job at, you know, it's all about content at the end. It's all about content, meaning this. If you look at this site, which got done after we left, you know, the case studies and the use cases, but this is based on the style guide, right? It's gray now with a little bit of a bluish tint, which I actually don't mind. I actually like it instead of the tannish. It's great. From zero, I'll summarize it this way. From zero to a there in 2 to 3 weeks is rare for any team to be able to do that. And usually I get that call, hey, we need help launching this company. And it's an emergency, and I jump in with a parachute and go, all right, let's go. What's the first thing that I do? Core. Get all these crazy people aligned and get them aligned and focused. And then the rest from there evolves into flow, which is something that one day soon I would like to really introduce how to do that part. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody listening and then allowing me to present. Yes, it's all built in Webflow, TJ. I'm gonna drink some water.
Hey, Jose, I asked you this question earlier and you touched on it some, but I'm interested in kind of how clients think about it, how you think about it. When I think about consensus versus alignment, I think consensus can be poison. Whereas alignment to me is almost more about just getting people in the same frame of mind about what the problem is, what the problems are that you're solving, versus everybody agreeing definitively that this is the answer. Do you think about it? Is it in a similar sense, or do you find your clients
Well, consensus is very hard to get. So when I was at Consensus, no pun intended, and helping a lot of startups, I witnessed startup founders, which are primarily male. There are female founders, or there were, and that's a slightly different kind of whatever. We're not talking here about gender, but it was extremely difficult for them to go in one direction. Because it had a lot to do with agendas and with the funding and with the timelines. It gets very complicated. So what you want to get from core is really alignment, and then you're going to be making recommendations, and they're going to be choosing your recommendations, and either it moves things forward successfully or it doesn't. So consensus, like, okay, we're all in agreement, sometimes doesn't lead to the best and the sharpest product, but there's like a high low. There's a set of people in the startup that have higher weight in the decision making than others, right? So at the end of the day, you have to bifurcate or divide the attention that way. For you, if you're a vendor or a provider, which most of our community is, to a startup, you're not in that room where those meetings are being made. So my job did I do a good job at this? Not as well as I should have. And I acknowledge it, to create a strong relationship and alignment with the core executive team. That's my answer to this question, which is maybe doesn't make any sense or helpful. Was that helpful at all to that issue?
I mean, it's descriptive of what you experienced, but maybe worth a more expansive conversation and circling. We can circle back, because I think the nuance between alignment. I think there's a distinction between, to me, there's a distinction between alignment and consensus. I think a lot of people could think alignment and think, oh no, that means consensus. Now, I don't think it does, but helping illustrate the distinction between those things is super valuable. And I think that my experience is that corporations have come to a place, many of them, the evolved ones and some of the lesser involved ones, have come to a place where they realize that seeking consensus is poison. But seeking alignment, seeking contribution, making sure people can share a point of view and feel like they're heard, that's all super valuable stuff.
Yeah, people feeling heard. I'm a big believer in alignment, and then whoever needs to make the decision moving forward. There are formulas for that. How I do agile in production of a project allows for that to happen actually fairly quickly, and it's an experiment, so we're just moving forward as fast as we can and validating the experiment. We don't know if it's going to work or not. TJ, what's your question? Could you repeat it?
Hi. So I picked up this project that I probably bit off more than I could chew, but that's okay. Your boy got it. So basically, it's a community project with 85 units, and I'm tasked of creating a website and also an interactive community portal. So basically, I'm working with the community board to centralize communication and to help communication get better within the community. So I am doing core. So my first phase is going to be doing core and also doing a survey that's been found out to the entire community. So as the survey is going, I'm going to be getting the stakeholders and then 2 community members to do some of the core sessions. Then I'm going to take the data that I got from the survey questions and use ChatGPT to synthesize some of the other profiles. So that way we can get a real in-depth look at the community profiles. And then of course, using the stakeholders' answers for the profile. And so then I'm just like kind of hashing out my process here to make sure I'm on the right
track. That's a very sophisticated way to create the customer profiles, and keeping in mind that they don't come just out of the facilitated session. There's input from the past, there's input from data that's out there specifically. You can have separate side conversations in Slack with people and their points of view. I had very nuanced conversations with the marketing team on this project about who they thought it was. That's where we got to like, no, it's a younger person. It's not going to be that person. And you want to hit the innovators first. And there were heated discussions about it. But so go ahead, continue. So you're putting together the users based on all those inputs. Yep.
Yeah. So then once that's done, then I'm going to move into phase two, which is like going to be the branding and website portion of it. So I'm going to have an open house for the community. So that way we basically boil down to 2 stylescapes. So I want to have 2 stylescapes, 2 different directions. So that way I can get as much feedback from the community as possible. And then once that's done, then I'll implement the branding as a whole, and then also on the website. And then phase 3 and then 4 will be the community interaction side of things. So that's
Beautiful.
like my whole project in a nutshell. I've most definitely bit off more than I could chew, but I got this.
breathe. You got this. You know, one thing that I would like to figure out, and Todd, this is me thinking out loud, is to figure out a way that we can make these calls as part of a bigger, more systematic way of like allowing for your projects for you to share and be in community relative to your projects. It's not easy to do it alone, especially when you're dealing with the energy of large teams, communities, etc., and you're all by yourself. It feels like you're walking into like a battle with all these people, energetically speaking. So having a community, a mastermind group that helps you flow through your projects, I think is extremely valuable, even if it's sharing that. The only thing I'm going to tell you about your project is, like, as you're doing the stylescapes, it's a lot of work to do a third one, but
right.
the way that I do it is think like you're really thinking like the other 2 to make sure they choose one, right? The third one is don't give a fuck. Just do something that you're like, woo, this is like, you know, the spicy one. Have fun. And it might take 3 hours, it might take 2, it might take an hour. It might be the scraps, the ideas that you like didn't do from the other stuff that you just want to export and experiment, or a new direction that you want to take in your own design language, or a style that you saw that you liked that might apply to this. But have a lot of fun in the third one, just for fun, like for crazy times. And what that's going to do, it's going to do 2 things. It's going to identify who on the team and in the community is open to risk. Like who are the crazy people on the team? Like, ooh, that's kind of cool. I haven't seen that before. Oh, I didn't show you guys the third direction. When we were showing this, we actually cut off the Jaja's second direction. And first of all, Jaja, thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you attend. I'm going to share I'm going to share that third one because nobody saw it.
Also, I have good news to tell you, but I'll leave that at the end of the show.
Oh, excellent. We'd love to hear that. Yay, good news. We're almost done. This is the third direction. Now, this was the just go crazy and do something fun version. But it did have an interesting, response. And notice that I mixed the 2 colors from one direction and from the first direction. It did have some results. Like these pill things ended up being like an actual thing in the overall design language. So the third direction, all of the directions give you little pieces and bits of what's chosen. I call it collaging. So at the end of the day, whatever they liked from all 3, we put it into the final direction when we present it. That's my input, and I appreciate you letting me share that. But thank you, TJ. Anybody else has any final thoughts, questions before we go into the final part of our agenda? This is it. We are here. We can breathe through this. One of my secret agendas is for Core to help create the next level meaning that we become founders, of different creative ideas, the same way that Psychotropic is a creative who used core to start his own company. To me, that's super important. Oh, he's here. Oh, well, jump on board, friend. Let's get, he's in the audience as Aurelio promotes panelists. There you go, sir. Or I can also just allow you to talk from there. You can talk from the audience. We don't have to invite everybody to the audience. We can, oh, wow, I'm learning new things. What's up, brother?
Hello, but you cannot talk. The chat is disabled.
Oh,
So
if you're an attendee.
Hello, everyone.
Got it.
Hello, Pape.
Hello. It's been nice listening.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, let's do the upload. And you can go first, Pape. One thing you got out of today that is valuable.
Well, I came out late, but alignment is always good. I've been experiencing it right now with Psychotropic, with trying to find alignment with my business partner. And it's not always easy. And to that question about consensus and alignment, I think that consensus requires both people to have the same perspective in a kind of way. And I feel that alignment is more like you understand the context, and through the context, you make decisions. So that's something that I'm looking forward to keep doing, because in Psychotropic, I'm not moving through my opinion, but through the reality that the business is living. And I feel that that is really important to be able to move forward, is knowing and understanding where you're standing on. And I think if there's no alignment in that, like, it's really hard to move forward. So yeah, that would be my upload.
That's beautiful. Thank you. The reality of what it is. Yeah. The numbers, basically. Who wants to go next? Just pick yourself and just jump in.
I'll just quickly go next. Because of Core, today I helped my client raised £8 million.
Whoa!
And I helped them to create a brand that is going to be on Piccadilly Circus in London. And we're going to take over the Tower record building in Piccadilly. So thank you, Core. And this is just such amazing.
Jaja, is it a new brand, or is it a company repositioning themselves, or
it's just going through, they just got the money now, so they're going to do something about it. It's a new brand. I'm not allowed to say it yet, but next time you're in Piccadilly, you see what's in the Tower Record building, and that's inspired by Core, by the way. But I will share once it's launched.
So exciting. Thank you for sharing that, Jaja. I am always not just touched, but the other night I had this realization, which is like, wait a minute. We've been teaching Core for, since 2015, 16, well, let's call it 17, when the first kit came out. And the future has scaled pretty big, and a lot of people have purchased Core and are using it. Core got Pape married. That's actually very funny. It's true. Like, actually, and it's now your wedding Pinterest board is now my style of, like, I became this guy, right? So Core unravel. It actually you become whatever you say you create. You say you are relative to your core essence. Oh, that sounds poetic. But the point I was going to make is when I realized, wow, that's a lot of companies around the world that have used Core. Made by Core should be a hashtag. That's what I realized the other day. Or made with Core. Give me 5 more people quickly. Pick yourselves. What did you get out of today? Rafael Sandoval, John Cincion, go.
Hey. Can I make one quick comment on an experiment I'm kind of messing with?
Please.
So I did Core initially before ChatGPT got released. So I gone through like my first Core deck for my agency, And then once ChatGPT got released, I did it again, but with 3.5. And then now I'm going through 3.4, or the fourth version of core of ChatGPT. Now I'm combining the two AI decks together, and I'm actually getting some crazy results, which I'll post later on once I'm finished the whole thing. But it's kind of funny. I noticed that everything that's been said in the combined results are going back to my original deck, which is kind of crazy to me. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I'm kind of leading on the AI, or the AI is like, no, this is who you always been. Like, this is who your brand's always been through the work I've been doing. So I just thought that was really cool.
That's a great insight. Thank you for sharing that, TJ. We at some point, you don't know it's a co-creation. You're co-creating in a circle. It's like you're basically facilitating a circle with the AI. Beautiful. Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go ahead and I'll say my upload. So I was looking at the designs and I already chatted it up, but it just, I mean, we've always said it and we say core is magic, and I can just see it manifest itself through the designs. Like, it just feels so hopeful, and I could imagine the clients just sitting there and looking at this and seeing their vision come to reality, and it's just amazed me. And I've done it. I've seen other people be just as happy, and it's just something that is always there. Core is magic and gives a lot of hope. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jersey.
I'll go next. I've heard about core from Jose for some time now, and I don't know what the hell he was talking about until today. I finally all made sense. The one when he asked what one word that comes to mind for me was system, and then I see it's called the system. So I'm new to the whole thing, but it's pretty incredible.
Core is the system. The system is core, just to be clear.
It's very meta. So yeah, it's that just makes it all so easy.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. The group, my agency, before I did the school, which became the future, and now I left to teach the system. Notice that story all makes sense in one line with the name of the companies, because it's just the names without any essence on it. Is something that, from a legacy as a designer, for me is like, oh, the process that we used at my agency, which was actually borrowed a little bit from Razorfish, from Digitas, from user experience, from USC MBA program, all put into this like really compact package, like a dumpling during dim sum on a Sunday, is now the legacy of, like, so many people around the world are using it. So the group became global, because we're all a group of people working in the system, which is the world. Anyway, I'm getting design thinking. I'm getting very meta there. Two more people, upload, and then we're going to do music with no cookies, which is just chilling and hanging out. One thing you got out that's valuable that you feel you want to share with the world. Pape, one thing that core did really well for me as a creative was giving me a better perspective on how to build a business and drive decisions in my personal life and projects. Yeah, bumpers. All right. Well, let's chill into our weekend. If you're watching this, like and subscribe, share and comment. This is a big effort as we move into this beautiful summer in the United States, winter here in Panama, to really drive content. So please share the content when you see it, when you see it posted, when you see the replays. Really appreciate it. Trying to bring core to the world and grow that. Of course, core discovery aligning brand goals and users. Much love to everyone. It's really beautiful. And now music and no cookies. We just say and do whatever we want. I'll put the music on. We will post this on our socials. Yeah, on Instagram. You'll see a link to this on YouTube and etc. Today, I wish I had a cookie. But thank you guys for coming. You can stay, you can go, you can make comments. Hi, Daniel. How was that today?
I went and tried to sign up for the demo at Usable Machine. I want to check it out. It looks good.
Awesome. That's a good, hi, cousin Marlene. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Appreciate it.
Hey.
Tatiana, so nice to see you, Tatiana.
Yeah, we should catch up.
Let's do it. Hit me up on the socials. I'll give you a Calendarly link.
Yeah.
Pape, let's hang this weekend,
Same
even
for
if it's
me.
for a walk.
Let's get a call in.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I see I'm unmuted.
Yay!
Hi, and thank you. What a great, I didn't catch the whole thing because I came in late, but always enjoy it. And for some reason, the chat is disabled for me. I don't know why, but thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jose. I loved what I saw. Thank you. Thank you.
Ooh, yeah. Todd and Jaja, you guys should definitely do a call. See you guys. See you, Titus, which is such a good name.
If anyone's around who has not taken core and has any questions about it, now or as people are leaving is a good time to hit.
We need to get John in there. John Sension. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. We should have a scrolling credits here.
I bet you could ask ChatGPT to help you out with that.
I like the music.
Today's episode was brought to you by Core. CoreIsMagic.com. Produced by Todd Mendela. Executive producer, The Universe. We'll see you guys next Friday. The next Friday, which is 2 Fridays from now, for office hours.